On the set, free wide sale, man. Y'all know what the going on, man. On the dead homies, don't count me in. Oh, count me in, dead homies, nigga. On ACG, I'm be back real soon. I'm innocent, no I'm criminal. Y'all know what the going on ACG.
Everybody said they gonna keep it solid when them detectives come through and got questions about a homie. Some people sit up in that room and throw their homies up under the bus and end up putting themselves in a trick bag. Dudes be looking the part, gang hats, face tats, and all that, until they go down with a 10mm Glock with a switch and a body on it that was used in the murder of Dylan Pressey, aka Mac 80, from West Coast Rollinado Crib in Long Beach. And this is where Midwest Active from 94 Hoover found itself a week after the skit on Century and Main, which we see is still playing itself out with the latest shooting up at the grand opening of Marathon Burger in Long Beach. Rap news, street politics, it's the best hood channel on YouTube. Viewer discretion is advised. Everybody we talking about are innocent until proven guilty. These are just allegations set forth in the discovery and investigative reports by the police. The only fact is that individuals have lost their lives in the streets of LA. Now we gotta work the clock back from the situation that happened at Marathon Burger in Long Beach. We got an individual that seemed to be everywhere, Treyway 7, who was kissed by a bullet during the altercation between the Rollins and the people he was up there with at the grand opening of Marathon Burger. Now we seen him moving around with the babies. The Hussein connection was in full effect, and one could say this was a bold place for him to be after the situation that transpired with Mac 80 from West Coast 80 being murdered on August 26, 2025. Now, along with him getting touched in the head, another individual from West Coast 80s is said to have lost his life in this situation. But this isn't the only time that Treyway 7 has been in the spotlight in regards to this situation. Now, we gotta rewind the clock back to 2:30 p.m. on Fig in Manchester on the day of August 26, 2025. In front of the store, by the House of Hotties, the Hoovers is outside. Not only is Treyway 7 in attendance, DeAndre Pugh, aka Bombay, is there. Ayala Anderson, aka Thumper, is present. And William Chipmunk Irvin from A. Trey Hoover is outside with the members. Now, as video is showed, 3 individuals pull up on Fig in Manchester in a white sedan, jump out, and get cracking on the Hoovers, broad daylight, leaving 25 9mm shell casings and 1 live round on the scene before speeding off westbound on 85th, hitting 5 individuals in total. One of those individuals being William Chipmunk Irvin, who sustained a gunshot wound to his left temple with an exit out of the right temple. 1 single gunshot wound took his life over here on Manchester and Fig. Now, in that video, we also see Treyway 7, who was getting out the way when shots let off on Manchester and Fig. Now, Chipmunk was a loved member from A. Trey Hoover, and as everybody knows, the city was set on fire by the situation that happened. Now, 3 hours after this situation, the police are sitting back and cruising through the Hoovers when they hit Colden Avenue. We spoke about Colden numerous times, and after the death of Chipmunk, the Hoovers are hanging out. When police hit the block, it's multiple vehicles double parked. They pull up and hem up 7 individuals. Out of the 7, there's Lil Fo Active, Midwest Active Lil Homie, Dante Edmond, and DeAnthony Pounds. Out of the 7 individuals, they take down a dude named Fo Mad, who had a stick on him, but he's a juvenile, but they go ahead and get him out the way. And this is when, allegedly, Thumper, who was shot at with Chipmunk, Bombay, and Midwest Active, aka Fo Active, are now on Colden as well. Now, as night falls, around 11:30 p.m., the same day, August 26, 2025, Dylan Pressey, aka Mac 80, is on Century and Main. In front of the liquor store, he has a female companion sitting in his car, talking to another Hispanic, unaffiliated individual. Also next to him are 2 females sitting in the truck, those 2 females unaffiliated. And it's an old man in front of the liquor store sitting on his walker. 2 minutes prior to this, there's a white Kia Optima that made a U-turn on Main Street and hit west on Century before stopping at 105 West Century. The front passenger and 2 rear passengers jump out and start getting cracking with a 10mm Glock with a switch on it, a 380, and a 9mm. hitting the unaffiliated Hispanic man twice in the leg, missing Mac 80's female companion sitting in his car, putting bullet holes in the truck that the two unaffiliated females were in, made the old man get up off the walker and get his ass up out of there, but not before Mac 80 from 80 sustained a gunshot wound to the head with an entrance to the left front head and an exit above the right ear, being pronounced dead on the scene. The three shooters are said to have got back into the Kia and slid west on Century. Now, when police got that call of this homicide on Century and Main, there was a simultaneous call of a carjacking on 90th and Orchard. This is right by Manchester Park in the 9 Deuce Hoovers. And with police already being hot on the Hoovers, they start to put their attention on the Figgy Middies once these two calls come in. Now, they end up getting a description of the vehicle that was used in the murder of Mac 80, and it comes back as a Kia. Police are in the Hoovers trying to jump the gun and wait for them to come back after the slide. And this is when they see a white Benz and a red Ram truck sliding erratically in the Hoovers. They start to follow these two vehicles until they end up on 84th and Vermont at a parking structure. Now, both of these two vehicles slide up in the parking structure, and while the police is trying to get up on them, two vehicles are coming out the parking structure at what they allege was a high rate of speed, one of them vehicles being a Kia, the other one being a Honda Accord. So they immediately get on them two vehicles and take them down. Sitting in the rear right passenger side of that Honda is Treyway 7, along with them members, and everybody goes down. They say they got 4 suspects in custody linked to the murder of Mac 80. Now, while they trying to squeeze these dudes, they've made a mistake. The Kia coming off 84th and Vermont is a light gray Kia K5. The Kia used in the murder on Century and Main is a white 4-door Kia Optima. Treyway 7, who we see is everywhere right now, is let go, mistaken identity. These dudes weren't at the scene. But one of them does end up going down for an unrelated shooting, and you see how the Hoovers is hot. Now, back at the scene of Mac 80, they glue together that carjacking call from 90th and Orchard as being another white Kia Optima. And then they get a phone call saying that it was found on 89th and Tupache. 89th and Tupache, the 9 foes. And the Kia was found because when it was carjacked on 90th and Orchard, the owner had left one of his cell phones in the car and was able to track it 4 hours after the shooting. Now, since they've glued together this carjacking being related to the shooting of Mac 80, you know they set the owner of that vehicle down in the room and asked him what happened. He turns out to be a DoorDash delivery driver who was set to deliver a Pizza Hut order on 90th and Orchard. He said when he got there, he met with a female who had ordered the pizza, and while she was getting her paper together to give him the money, 2 suspects jump out on him and push him to the ground. He said when he looked up, they start clutching on their waistband. He covered his eyes, and they skirted out of there with his car being trailed by a black Chevy Cruze. Now, as you can see, it's a lot of cookie crumbs being left over. As soon as they got this information, they start tapping everywhere for surveillance cameras related to this carjacking and to the murder of Mac 80. They tapped the liquor store on Century and Main. They tapped that elementary school on 89th and Tupache. And they were looking for surveillance cameras from houses on 90th and Orchard. But they were sitting on a gym because, like I said, the owner of the Kia had left the phone inside the Kia. So they extracted all the geolocation data from that cell phone as well and were able to follow every path that the Kia took that night. But along with that, they also got the DoorDash information from the account that ordered the pizza. So when they got that phone number from the DoorDash account that ordered the pizza, they started looking for phone numbers. They noted that it was a text now number and had to wait for the subscriber information on that phone. But they did come back with a call log in regards to the communications that this phone number was having around the time of the carjacking and the murder, and 2 phone numbers were produced. One of them phone numbers, they got silly and slid it into Cash App, and it popped back as a relative to Lil Fo Active, aka Dante Edmond, who had just been searched hours earlier with the members on Coding. The other phone number came back to Tiny Fotrit, aka Robert Bremy, who's also from the Figgy Middies. So now that they had that, they looking at the surveillance camera from Century and Main, and not only do they see the white Kia, but they also see it being followed by a dark colored BMW. Now they got on this BMW because it made the same U-turn and was making the same movements as the white Kia, step by step, and they figured this was the scout or the tail car being used to assist with the homicide. Now the next day, again, this murder occurred late night, 11:30 p.m. August 27, 2025, some of the surveillance videos start to trickle in from spots they've been hitting up all night. Now, since they were able to track the kid the whole way because of the cell phone in it, the elementary school on Tupache ain't have nothing, and they see the cell phone made a stop on 98th and Flower in front of another school, and they got surveillance from there, along with having another surveillance video on 90th and Orchard, where the carjacking took place. And from the camera footage on 90th, they see the Kia pull up, and they see the owner of the Kia jump out and talking to the female. Then on frame, they catch dudes sneaking around and riding off with the Kia with the black Chevy Cruze in tow. Now the cell phone takes them to the next location. They took the Kia straight to Colden. 5 minutes later, they sitting in Colden, and police got the camera footage from Colden. They seen one of the suspects jump out the Kia and double back to it with another individual. That individual jumps in a blue SUV, and they both slide east on Colden. Now at this point, they track the Kia to 98th and Flower at that school, and they see them leave the Kia there. Now, surveillance video, 6 minutes before the murder of Mac 80, 11:24 p.m., they see a BMW slide southbound on Flower and west on 98, pass by the Kia and unlock it with the key fob. They see it make a U-turn, and 4 niggas jump out the BMW and jump into the Kia, and the Kia and the BMW slide west on 98. But while that BMW hits 98th and Fig, it hits a license plate reader, and the BMW comes back to Tiny Faux Trip, who police say they're familiar with because they've stopped him multiple times in the BMW. So now, not only do they have Tiny Faux Trip linked to the DoorDash number, as well as Lil Faux Active, they also have his BMW being next to the white Kia and at the scene of Mac 80's death. Now, while the police is putting all this shit together, they end up stumbling on a gem. Markel Ray, aka Midwest Active from 94 Hoover, goes down in Inglewood with a 10mm Glock with a switch on it. And you know, as soon as they got that Glock, they went on ahead and tested it for ballistics, and it came back as a match for the same weapon used to kill Mac 80. Now that was on August 30th, 2025, he goes down. September 2nd, 2025, 2 days that he's been sitting in Twin Towers, he requests to talk to the detectives. Now he jumps it off with saying he believes the weapon he was caught with was used in the murder of Mac 80. He said he obtained the 10mm Glock with the switch from Colden Avenue, and he began to break down everything that happened after the murder of Chipmunk. Now mind you, he was with Chipmunk right before he was killed, so he was the individual that was clearly in the mix and on Colden, while he claims everybody was angry about Chipmunk's murder and wanted to get popping on the main streets. They felt like the main streets were responsible and wanted to press play on Main and Century. He said while everybody was plotting on the get back, they was leaving him out of it because he had a physical disability. He said they called him crippled, which made him upset. Now, I don't know what that disability is, but it was noted that he did see medical for some type of disability that he has. Now, he said when they was plotting on the car to take over to Century and Main, he said his little homie, Lil Faux Active, spoke up and said that shit already taken care of. Pizza Hut on the way. And this is when Midwest Active says he went to 90th and Orchard with Lil Faux Active and his girlfriend Tiana Lincombe. And he stated that Tiana Lincombe is the one that ordered the pizza from her DoorDash account, and she drives a black Chevy Cruze. And he stated that the vehicle that was stolen was a Kia, but he backed up off the situation and said the individual that stole the Kia was already on 90th and Orchard, and it wasn't him. Now, we said after the Kia was stolen, they went back to Colden with Thumper and Bombay being present. Mind you, both of them dudes were at the scene when Chipmunk was killed. And this is when Midwest Active claims that he grabbed Bombay, pulled him to the side and told him, "You got an ankle monitor on. I don't think it's a good idea for you to slide." And he said he was dismissed. And this is when he accounts that Tiny Faux Trip, aka Robert Bremium, pulls up in his BMW, and Bombay, Thumper, and Lil Faux Active go on a mission. Now, he claims he couldn't definitively say if anybody other than Tiny Faux Trip was in the BMW, but he said he believes his girlfriend, Zawina Washington, was in the BMW as well. Now, police tried to somewhat corroborate his story by notating that Zawina Washington was previously in the BMW the times when Tiny Four Trip was stopped in it. But Midwest Active wasn't done. He stated that when they left Colden, he stayed on Colden and provided the police with his Instagram account and his phone to prove his location. He said when they got back, Thumper spoke about using a 10mm, Lil Fo Active had the 9, and Bombay spoke about the 3.8. He said they had difficulty finding their way back to Colden, and he said eventually he slid off Colden with Lil D-Mac, and this is when he put himself in the trick bag. So when police start going through his Instagram account, of course they see the pictures of him, Bombay, and Chipmunk, but they notice that Midwest Active also has an ankle monitor on. Now what he tried to do was do a little throw off. His ankle monitor wasn't from probation or parole, it was from a bail bondsman. So he thought they weren't gonna be able to put that piece together. Police called probation or parole. They say that's not one of ours. And they ended up getting in contact with the GPS monitoring company and subpoenaed all his locations on the night of the murder. Now he ended up getting out from the situation where he's caught with this Glock in Inglewood, and he's back on the streets. But he's just giving police everything they need to sew up his homies and himself. When his location data comes back on his ankle monitor, it shows him on Colden like he said he was. Then it shows him on 90th and Orchard at the carjacking like he said he was. But he left out the fact that he was in the BMW on 98th and Flower. Since they had the video footage, his GPS shows 98th and Flower, and at that location it shows the Kia and the BMW. Then it goes on to show him at 105 West Century during the murder. After that, it shows it on 89th and Tupache where the Kia was dropped off at. And in his final act, it shows him at a gas station where a black Chevy Cruze is, with Tiana Lincombe getting out of it at 8514 South Hoover after the homicide. It shows Lil Fo Active taking the wheel, and police allege that he is a passenger in that black Chevy Cruze. And furthermore, realize that he is at all scenes relevant to the murder of Mac 80 from West Coast 80s. Now, even though he snitched on Bombay, they still had to glue him together. Again, Midwest Active told the police Bombay had an ankle monitor as well. They went ahead and got his geolocations and glued him to the scene. They already had Tiny Four Trip glued to the scene, but used his cell phone number to track his locations and realized he was at every spot relevant to the homicide. And with the help of Midwest Active, everything crashed down on these dudes October 23rd, 2025. Bombay goes down for murder and attempted murder. Tiny Four Trip goes down for murder, attempted murder, and felon in possession. Midwest Active, the only one to go down for everything. The murder, attempted murder, felon in possession, and carjacking. His little homie, Lil Fo Active, goes down for carjacking, and his girlfriend goes down for carjacking for being the one that set up the move over DoorDash. Now, police still had to take prints off the Kia. When they did so, they found one print on the stolen Kia, and that matched the print of DeAnthony Pounds, who was also with Lil Fo Active 3 hours after the murder of Chipmunk when they shook down everybody on Colden. He goes down for carjacking. Now, when Midwest Active goes down, in his spot, they also found a 223 and on the side a mag with some 40 cal rounds in it on some dumb shit. And along with him, Lil Fo Active's girlfriend decides to make a statement when they show her a picture of her black Chevy Cruze at a gas station after the murder. She states she previously owned a black Chevy Cruze and admitted her involvement in ordering the pizza. She said Lil Fo Active was with her when they did the carjacking, but Lil Fo Active, his statement was that he was in Arizona at the time of the carjacking. And of course, when they got Midwest Active back in the room, he said he didn't do no shooting or drive a car. Now, Tiny Four Trip, who was stopped again in the BMW after the murder, he goes down, punches a wall in his cell, and ends up fracturing his hand. But he seemingly kept it solid. Him and Bombay lawyered up instantly. Now, Bombay, this is his second murder charge. He had another one in 2022 that was beat. And while everybody had physically went down off the street October 23rd, he was already sitting in Twin Towers on an unrelated robbery charge. They pulled him out, took him to 77th, and said they wanted to use his interview as visual stimulation for when they took down everybody else in the case to get them to start talking. But this is what fueled the fire, which led to Treyway 7 catching a graze wound to the head at Marathon Burger in Long Beach. As we see, Mac 80 was a Love member over there. He was tried as an adult in an attempted homicide back in 2015 in Long Beach. But this wasn't his first time on the news. We seen him on the news doing the dash in the Benz on the rim. You know, he was active in these streets. It said that he had good ties with the main streets, But the thing is, there seemingly was nobody from Main Street outside, and at one point in time, he stayed just blocks up from where he got killed at in the Hoovers. But this is bad work on Midwest Active Park. But again, these are just allegations set forth by police discovery and investigations. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but this is what they allege transpired when the Hoovers pressed play in the main streets for Get Back for Chipmunk, August 26, 2025. Now, for everybody that want to know what happened with Tifo the Lope from 11 Deuce Broadway on 113th and Main, y'all make sure y'all tap that membership. We put the case out. Join the membership. We got more cases being dropped on the membership real soon. Rap News Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube. Y'all make sure y'all stay tapped in.